Right, so we go into day 5 of the second test between West Indies and India, and you're watching the familiar show called Yes, my name's Avnish Hegde, and as it stands, West Indies 76 for 2 on day 4 at stumps, and nearly messed that up. But basically, they need 289 runs, and that is the all important figure that you guys should know when you watch the proceedings on Monday evening. My name's Avnish Hegde, and before I get to Shubh and of course Akshay and Nikhil, we always start with a stat. And the stat is a compelling one because if you thought Bazball was good, what about Wall Ball as we're dubbing it here? Take a look at this graphic because they have achieved the best run rate in an innings in tests, a minimum of 100 plus runs. That is, of course, India doing it 7.54, and that will be earmarked in the record books 2023. Remember, last year we saw it with England at Rawalpindi against Pakistan, but then the rest of the records speak for themselves. That was the stats, but let's move on to the experts corner because I can finally introduce our panel. Let's of course introduce our panel today. Shubh Chintak, who's been of course doing this game as a live blog. Shubh, how are things generally in life and midnight? I mean, have you enjoyed yourself in this Border Spain test?
Well, life has felt better today at least because yesterday I felt almost dead in the last half an hour of play because things were just going so slow. But today, just the way India started the day, a wicket in the first over itself, then wrapping up the remaining 5 West Indies wickets in a matter of 55 minutes, and then batting the way they did. I think they have set up an exciting day 5 for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned the quick start that we had in the morning section. Nix, I'll come to you. Mohammad Siraj stood up brilliantly. 5 for 60, his career best. A word on him, please, and how brilliant he was to just wipe up the tail for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and no wonder he ended with his best figures purely because of he's been bowling well for India for a while. And even in the first test, you felt he was creating chances. So this was due reward for all the hard work that is put in, and it just shows how much of a growth that he has seen as red ball bowler. We've all loved him in this format. It's not that we did not know that he could do it, but you need those bulk of wickets. Something that I think Jaydev will be missing. That he's created chances, but hasn't quite looked that threatening. But Siraj is continuing to grow, and that is good for him and for India. That tail has been a problem for India, so he ensured there was no tail of the tail.
And Nix, were you ever in doubt of this kind of batsmanship from both of them because they went at a steady pace, all right?
Not after Jaiswal hit Roach for a 6 over cover in the very first over. I think some of those shots that people play, they stay with you forever. I think that one will stay for a long time with me. That new ball Kema Roach in West Indies, not many left-handers are going to even think about it. So yes, the situation allowed him to do that, but to pull it off that well, it just set the tone for India. And again, uh, kudos to the management. Very often we've been harsh or critical of their approach of not taking the game head-on. This was a classic case of them being very proactive in terms of the approach that everybody came in with clear intent to score. They may not have always succeeded, but there was always a genuine effort. And again, props to Jaiswal and Rohit to set the tone once again. They almost got the record for the most runs for an opening pair in a test. So in that regards, great setup. And then Kishan coming in. I mean, it's a good story, right? First test you declare after the keeper gets 1 run. Next test you declare after the keeper gets a 50. So it's a good ring to it.
It's a very good ring to it. But what it's not a good ring for at least the West Indies, Akshay. I mean, surely they're going to be plotting overnight right now in terms of how to at least get a draw, let alone a win, because 289 from 90 is probable. But with their batting lineup, you wrote the article, I think it was on day 2, how slow is too slow. But they need to go at some pace on day 5, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the way Craig Brathwaite started, it seemed like they were going for the kill. They were going to sort of attack and try and chase down the target. But his dismissal have sort of put the brakes on their chase. Both Blackwood and Tej Narayan, both of them have been fairly subdued. And yeah, I mean, it is going to be difficult. They are 2 wickets down, and given the way that the batting lineup is structured, It's not like they have a lot of stroke makers. This is something we discussed the other day as well. Uh, but yeah, it's very iffy because what they did on day three is not something that can be easily replicated. Batting out an entire day, especially when you know that Indian bowlers are now going to be even more like, because this now right now they're playing for a result, so it'll be even more difficult. Yeah, it's very iffy. It's hard to sort of predict how West Indies are going to go about their business tomorrow.
Okay, really quick one from all you guys then before we just wrap up Experts Corner. Is there hope for West Indies? Not Shea hope, but generally. Any hope, glimmer of hope.
I don't think there are chances of a win because West Indies need 289 to win, and the most number of runs scored in a day's play in this Test match has been 278. That was also on day one, and the pitch has gotten considerably slower from then on. So I don't think a victory is in sight. But if it rains and rains for a considerable amount of time, then West Indies will have a chance to draw the game, which is like a win for them. They will take it as a win. They have been trying to play for a draw since day two itself. I feel so. Yeah, I don't think a win is in sight, but yeah, it could be a drawn game. But I will still keep India as favourites to win the series 2-0.
Okay. You agree those thoughts, gentlemen? Can we swimmingly move on?
Yeah, our answer is the same, no difference.
No, I'm just assuming that because, look, India might be 25-0 in terms of the last time West Indies won a test match against India, which was in 2002. And that's quite ridiculous. Right, let's move on to the next segment. And it is, of course, What's Trending India. In What's Trending India, we normally pick the bones about something different, whatever is kind of making the buzz on Twitter. Now, today, of course, it was a sober Sunday if you're an Indian fan because they lost to the Pakistan A side in Colombo in that emerging tournament. Now, guys, obvious disappointment. The fact that we went down by 128 runs. Akshay, I'll start with you. Yash Dul, another Delhi captain, will probably get questioned losing a final. But jokes apart, though, India really seemed all right to the final, right? It's just on the day they lost to the better side, I guess.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, and also we've got to take into account the fact that India was probably the only team that actually fielded players under the age of 23. Almost every other team, test playing nations and otherwise, had players well above 23, players who've already represented the senior side. So given that, what they've achieved is commendable, and yeah, I mean. Also the way the Indian team started, their openers started, both Abhishek Sharma and Sai Sudarshan, it did seem like there was some semblance of hope, but yeah, unfortunately they fell very short. Yeah.
He mentioned a couple of names there, Nick. So I'll come to Shub and I want to ask him about generally some names to look forward to. Nick Joes, the captain Yashdul himself, Nishant Sindhu. These are all relatively new names, Nick. But what did you like in this tournament and the whole?
I think it is, as Akshay said, one thing that the point about this group of players playing together, they will learn a lot from this experience. And these are, of course, very tough days to swallow when you dominate a tournament, but in the big day, you end up a bit behind. And a lot of it you felt was a bit of controllable in terms of how the bowlers were rotated and how India bowled a lot of spin to Tayyab Tahir, who doesn't mind facing spin. So, I mean, they had what 30 plus overs of spin, and they still had them. They triggered a collapse, but they still allowed them to grow. So maybe it's a common theme across women's cricket, men's cricket, and now emerging that captaincy-itis is how I called it. That sometimes you just don't use your resources well, but far more time for them. And as you said, there are some great names. We're very looking forward to Sutar getting an IPL contract. And again, these are good players to develop to then make them dominate the world stage. So yeah, a lot of exciting talent there. Hopefully, right calls being taken at the right stage.
Yeah, and that's pretty much summed up pretty well in that last point. Manav Suta is definitely a name to look forward to. Hunger Gaker as well, he played a straight show. I mean, what is it for someone like him? Because he didn't get that many games in the IPL. These guys don't play that many high pressure games. So do you think he can take a lot out of this tournament despite the fact that they ended up as a runner-up?
I think that was the objective of the tournament actually. Even if you lose in the final, I mean, making that distance is a very good experience to hold on to before taking the next step towards IPL or international cricket. In Hunger Gaker's case, especially, I mean, he has been injured a lot. So for him to play all the games of a compact tournament like this and performing well consistently, along with experience, it's a massive confidence booster as well. Such kind of things can be very important going forward, and he will definitely carry confidence from this.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned even the Pakistan team over there who beat us by 128 runs. Lots of things to like from a world cricket perspective for their team. And this tournament generally has seen other guys who played already in international cricket, right? Like, for example, a Ratne or a Soumya Sarkar, they've played. But India, like Akshay said earlier, having an average age of 21 years and some 230 days odd, which is available on the cricket.com data digest section. You can check it out there. Let's move on to the last segment then. In terms of having some fun, it is a quiz segment called Who Am I? Right, Who Am I time. And of course, you guys can win some merchandise if you guys apply common sense sometimes and connect the clues that we're going to give you of 3 players. Remember, the person who wins the merchandise is basically has to say it first and get all 3 right. So let's see what we have today, gentlemen, because this man is a West Indian we'd like to start with, and he has a test average over 50 against only 2 teams, and India is one of them. Make whatever you want to make of that clue, but it's a good clue to get off to a start. Second clue, he's played his last international match against India in 2010. So all you 90s kids, if you're listening in, this should be an easy one for you. And finally, he's also participated in the infamous ICL. I don't know if the picture can give you a little bit more evidence, but let's move on to the second one then, because I think all these guys know it. There's no point asking the 3 men at this point of time. Second clue, yeah, I think the picture is so obvious. Shashank and Vikas should be held culprit here because the clues, yeah, it's tricky, but the picture gives it away. But nonetheless, the clues, I played against 9 test playing nations and did not play a single test against the West Indies. The second clue, I played 94 ODIs but did not score a century. And I played with 6 IPL teams. I do not want to quote what Anirudh Suresh called him in office headquarters, but I'll move on to the third player, and this is the man. My test career average is 26, but I'm averaging 52 against the West Indies, or averaged rather, and I was a contestant for the celebrity dance show. I wonder which that one was, and I also have a century against the West Indies in ODIs. Now, obviously, the jersey should give you a clue, and Nick's polite nod, which we always are used to and accustomed in this point. Do you guys want to have some left field shouts?
I know the answers.
You know the answers?
What
Okay.
else?
Can you fool around a little bit, pretending not to know the answers?
Yeah, one of them is a finisher. I'll take one.
One of them is a finisher, or both. 2 of them are the finishers. One yesteryear finisher, one
Current
not so
finisher,
yesteryear.
yeah, but who has been unable to pull off some of the finishes in the last few games that he has played. So
I know one has played T20. The other 2, I would have loved to see them play T20. Actually, right? Think about it.
not the West Indian one that you had. I was not really big fan
No?
of
Not
fan of that
convinced?
guy. Yeah, I was never convinced. I mean, no harsh words, but yeah, as a kid, I watched him when I didn't have much technical knowledge of the game, but still he did not impress me much. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Look, guys, thanks so much for watching another episode of this Calypso Cricket Confrontation. It's been good fun and not so much in terms of going into day 5. I really wanted to breathe easy on a Monday, but India are going to do the hard way, I guess. Inevitably 2-0, like Shubh said, but we'll wait and watch. We'll be there. Shubh's going to be in the live blog. Akshay will be doing an analysis piece as well. You guys can catch that on the website and the app, and catch Nick's on his personal Instagram for all the fantasy cricket tips that you guys need to know. I'm Avnish Hegde. Time to say goodbye. Have a fantastic week ahead. Monday Morning Blues has just started.